episode 178 Above Ground Podcast. Odds, Sweet Things, and Dead Ends with Mike Langone.
Disclaimer. The hosts of this podcast, Will Foley and TPP, are not medical professionals, and this is not medical advice. Both Will and TPP have first-hand experience with mental illness. They have their own perspective and own thoughts on mental health challenges. Above Ground Podcast was birthed to help those who struggle with their mental health through honest dialogue. By speaking openly and sharing tools, they foster connection. By fostering connection, they convey hope. With connection and hope, we can continue to increase awareness. These conversations aim to break down the walls while building stronger foundations for positive mental health. This is Above Ground Podcast.
Coming at you live with real conversations about mental health from the peer perspective. It's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now your hosts, TPP and Will Foley.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 178 of Above Ground Podcast. Above Ground Podcast, because you can't serve below. First off, huge shout out to the Fuse Box, Radio X, but not without saying huge thank yous to Ike's Wasted World, Gay Tasty Ex Machina, and of course Black Belt Jones, whose singer Mike Langone is our guest this week. We had an awesome show on Saturday night at the Fuse Box here in Albany in the 518. And what a night of riff heavy rock. I was just very, very grateful to be a part of the night and play some original stuff. And TPP and I got up and did our version of I Am the Highway. He came in and helped me do a version of it. And it's up on our Facebook page, so go to the Above Ground Podcast Facebook page. You can see the live video of it. Also, never underestimate the power of you. That's right. Tim's new book is getting ready to drop on Amazon, and as soon as I have links and know when it's definitely dropping, as far as I know, it's coming out in the next few weeks, but he hasn't quite gotten all the stuff yet together for it, and we know it's coming, but it's there, and from what I've read, it's going to be awesome, and it's so cool to see him get this done, and it's inspired me to do other stuff too, and that's what it's all about, man. It's all about inspiring and fostering hope, right? We can do anything if we set our minds to it, and we chart the path. That's what it's all about. So, without any further ado, we're going to get to our interview with Mike Langone. December 18th will be the next Upstate Punk Rock Flea Market, and Upstate Punk Rock Flea Market is here because of Mike. Mike is the one who has put that whole promotion together. And Empire Live is such a great place to do it, and so grateful that Ted and Mike Valeni and everybody that's involved, all the security guys, Vegas and all those guys, it's such a great place, such a great venue, such killer shows, man, such killer shows. So if you haven't been there, find a show to go to, especially if you want to come out and do something really, really special for people and you like heavy music. Don't forget December 16th is the Toy for Tots Drive. I put up a video on my personal page recently about wanting to help as much as I could this year. And if anybody is interested in donating toys here in the 518, please let me know. I will be more than happy to pick them up for you and deliver them to this event on December 16th, which is being sponsored by Nippertown and Upstate Black and Blue and everybody involved. So please donate if you can. Toys for Tots, new toy unwrapped. That's all you need to know. All right, here we go. Episode 178.
Quick note before we start today's episode. If anybody listened last week, we have a new disclaimer. So we wanted to take a moment and thank our previous voice, Jordan, for lending his voice for all these years and giving us a hand and supporting us. We thank him.
Yes, we thank you, Jordan. Thank you for your service, man. Now, episode 178 Above Ground Podcast. Odds, Sweet Things, and Dead Ends with Mike Langone. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast, because you can't serve below.
That's right. What up, TPP? What's going on, buddy? Another Sunday morning. Although I'm a little scared of what is going on behind that camera because Like, you don't look like you're wearing a shirt, and that's
I
put
know.
it back. You need to put that shit on, dude.
I know.
I can't see.
I was I was doing some stuff, and then I was like, I got to get on. And then I realized right when I sat down, I was like, oh my God, I don't have a fucking shirt on,
I
man.
know, man, dude. Good thing we don't use this fucking video.
Right?
Nobody would ever come visit us. Nobody would ever come visit us at our table at Upstate Punk Rock Flea Market, which would be
No,
a real detriment. Which would be a real detriment.
I know. They definitely would not.
We are joined this morning by Mike Langone. He wears many hats. He really does. But Mike is the creator of the Upstate Punk Rock Flea Market. October 23rd is going to be Upstate Punk Rock Flea Market number 3, which we'll be stoked to be at. We'll have all your resources for your mental health stuff and your substance abuse stuff, and we're always adding resources. Mike, thank you so much for joining us this morning, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's good to see you. Luckily, Mike is also the lead singer in Black Belt Jones. He is a mummifier. I'll call you. Is that a word?
No, I I mean, I do some mummification, but I do art with bones and skulls and stuff like that. And like right behind me, that snake.
Yeah, I see that.
Man, yeah. So yeah, I just do different things, and it's become like a hobby, which has become like a little side business.
That's awesome, man.
Busy, man, keeps the mind busy, which is good.
That's kind of where I was going to go with that. Is this part of the reflection of you having your many years in recovery and being involved in as a professional, as a CASAC at one point, and just throughout your journey? Is this something that you found to keep you occupied, or did it just kind of fall into your lap?
It fell into my lap, kind of. God, I can't even like really pinpoint when I really started doing it, but I was always like a collector of like certain skulls and stuff like that. And then I started putting some things together, and I think I had a couple of friends that said, hey, this looks really cool. You should, do this and sell it and do it. And it's become like a small business, and it keeps me out of trouble.
That's awesome, man. And keeping you out of trouble, that's a big thing, man.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know who you are that listens to the show, can you just give us a little bit of background and tell us about your journey?
I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, when it was really the Lower East Side of Manhattan, when it was not great the way it is. It's much better now. That's a double-edged sword, because we don't want to get into all the politics of how that transitioned. But basically, they got the poor people out, and they're still getting the poor people out. So
right,
let's stop it there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always grew up with a lot of anxiety, and this is in hindsight now. So I definitely felt like I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression as a kid. And I think the first time I got drunk by myself, I felt an ease. I felt the calmness. And I think that started me off into like a world of like addiction and making a lot of bad decisions. But I think in the beginning, it really helped my mental health in a way. Like, it kept me from hurting myself, I guess. Didn't really realize I was hurting myself in a different way. But it made me feel better, like I can cope with what was going on around me. So,
from the way I understand it, and you say the first time you drank by yourself, that is a very big distinction in there. It's not like you were out partying with your friends. It's the first time you drank by yourself. So obviously there was something inside of you, traumatic experiences or just life in general, that propelled you to need to ease the pain that you were feeling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Has that pain ever subsided for you?
Yeah, I mean, oh God, I'm definitely a different person than I was. I think a lot of it is just acceptance too, and just like can't focus so much on why. It's more like how I can make things better. You could get stuck on why, and then you'll have some smart guy that'll say, "Why not?"
Right. Yeah, why not? Why not? Right. Why not?
I always like those guys.
Yeah, why not? Why not throw yourself into a world of being able to not cope and using those negative coping skills that we learn sometimes by accident We see it around us. We do it just to fit in. We do it because we have a lack in ourselves, or feel a lack in ourselves.
I mean, I definitely started it to fit in, but it definitely helped me just socialize better. And I was able to like do things. I also was in a world I kind of didn't belong in, I feel sometimes, and I made like a lot of bad decisions. So I'm lucky I'm here. I guess we all are, right? So
Absolutely, man.
But it was a long journey, and I ended up in Albany.
How long you been in Albany now?
Been in Albany. Okay, so it's been over 20 years, with one period when I left for about a year and a half. Then I came back to Albany in 2000. I kind of felt like it was kind of like became my home, so I kind of felt like I came back home in a way. I decided to go to school because I was working in a treatment program where they didn't want to pay me, and I was doing like a lot of work, and I decided like doing a lot of work, but I'm really not being recognized for it or paid for it. So I ended up going to school, and like you mentioned before, getting a CASAC, becoming a counselor, which I was told I was good at it, but I was having trouble doing it, especially when I was coming into clients who had more trouble than just addiction, who needed a different approach, I guess, than the therapeutic community approach, yelling at people or making judgments on people, or forcing people to do certain things when they're not really equipped to do it.
Mike, do you think that you being in that position, did you not feel confident in your skills and in yourself, that you were what they needed and they needed more?
I felt confident in my skills. I mean, I definitely, I know I helped a lot of people, but certain people needed a different approach, and I don't think the field was ready for it. I think they're starting to now. I think it's more complicated than we thought, I think.
Yeah,
You
no,
know what
I
I mean?
understand. I guess that's a great answer. And I think that's exactly what I was looking for, is that whatever that key thing that was missing. And like you said, it's almost as if, the workers are kind of have their hands tied, because there's this, bigger system that's bigger than us, that has control that may need to be, fine tuned, we'll say.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so you get people that are in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm abstinent, man. I've been abstinent for a little while, and it's just what I need to do for me. I don't use anything, caffeine, right? Little CBD to go to sleep, full spectrum. It has about the same amount of THC that a kombucha has alcohol. You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's like, it's not going to do anything except help you sleep,
Right.
And I'll drink kombucha too. Because I'm in recovery, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to get in recovery and be abstinent. And we have to find a way that's going to work for the individual, and I also think there's a fine line, that we got to be careful, because sometimes I feel like, and I hate to use the word enable, sometimes we could be sending a different message to people. And it's like, I don't think it's okay to shoot dope and smoke crack. I think it's really bad. It really ruins your life. It makes you people don't want to be around you too, but it makes you also become a person like that you really don't want to be, because when I was caught up in that, I was definitely doing things and being this person that I really don't want to be. And I was lucky that I was able to stop. And some people don't make it. They end up dying on it, which I've lost so many friends, so many clients, so many associates, so many family members. Like I can't even count. Like I just lost somebody not too long ago who was like a brother to me, who I lived with, who I played in a band with. It's devastating.
You just mentioned that you've lost a lot of friends and family. So I wanted to know, do you have addiction in your family like so many of us do? Or was this something that just kind of hit you? Is there like diagnosed mental health conditions, undiagnosed?
There is. My father definitely was a heroin addict and an alcoholic, and he died because of that. There's some mental health in the family on his side, and it definitely addiction has affected my family for sure. On my mother's side too. Not my mom though.
As it
My
does.
mom just had my mom just had a bad picker, but she was like really a good person. Was liked by a
Yeah,
lot of people. Yeah, she was
yeah,
really good. Yeah,
yeah. As it turns out, like most of us have some sort of addiction that runs through. Like
right.
me too. I have a mentally ill parent.
Yeah,
Alcoholic parent. It's kind of runs the gamut.
yeah.
And I found alcohol, I saw it normalized in my life. So and I'm not abstinent. I'm not in recovery or anything like that. So I still have my own issues to
Mm.
deal with, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
Yeah, we got to take care of ourselves. That's like the main thing. You know what I mean? So what I was getting at before was like I stopped working in treatment because I really don't agree with a lot of it. And that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, I
Or,
get it.
and I mean I've worked in harm reduction, you know,
Harm reduction.
it could mean like so many different things.
Well, yeah, can you
Oh, when
kind of
people use that word,
Yeah, I was just going to ask you because it doesn't come up very often that people mention harm reduction specifically, and in some of the ways we look at it is like injection sites, and we look at it as in different, as in going into outreach and meeting people where they are. But is there other definitions to harm reduction?
reducing harm, right?
Yeah.
Going into treatment is harm reduction.
Okay.
Being abstinence is harm reduction. You know
So
what
it's
I
all
mean?
harm. It's all harm
It's
reduction.
all harm reduction, right? So it's like, so when somebody says, "Well, I don't want to do that harm reduction thing," I don't think they're being um, specific. I guess it's not a specific term. I don't think that's how I look at it anyway, and I know a lot of people do too. But anyway, I got out of working. I got out of working in treatment. I give you a quick example of one of the reasons why I left. I had a client did a lot of time in jail, but he was forced to sit in a room with like 10 counselors and having the counselors tell him what he needs to do when this guy is getting his mental illness is getting kicked up because he's been in jail and he's had to sit in situations like that with board members and CEOs. You know what I mean? And like when you get in trouble in jail, you sit in front of a bunch of people and they make a decision of what's going to happen to you. There was just a lot of like that for him. It's just one little example of how it needs to be tailored for individuals a little better, I think. But I never want to have to work in a treatment program. I'm not putting them down. They work for people. They keep people alive. Some people stay clean when they get out of them. Some people get themselves together. Some people reduce harm to themselves when they get out. And I think some people are forced to look at things that they're really not ready to look at, and which could be harmful. So that's just my opinion and my view on it of for working in it for like probably over like 20 years. So
Do you think that last part, people are forced to look at things that could be harmful, but do you think it's also necessary as part of the process?
when a person's ready, like if you're in a treatment program and you only could stay there for 90 days, so they need you to get to look at something like right away. I
Okay,
don't think that's right. You know, I think not
gotcha.
everybody's ready to look at
Right.
something right away. I think there's a process, that needs to happen. You know, some people need to get off of a certain substance for a while before they could really, their mind clears up and really able to really like process certain things in their life.
Agree. Yeah, no, I agree. That's probably why we see a lot of people re-enter those places,
Yeah.
Do you think that for you being, getting sober has had positive effects on your mental health?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think drugs work in the beginning. And then, like, I think drugs did their job for me in the beginning. And I'm talking about like teens and early 20s. And then after a while, it stopped working. So I definitely had to get off of that in order to work on the mental health part, like my anxiety and my depression, which I still have bouts with, but it's so much better. Like, it's crazy. So I used to have so much anxiety, but I worked in a treatment program, played in a band, around people all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I was like always like had this thing in the back of my head, which I'm uncomfortable around people. It's pretty wild when you really think about it.
I concur. I can get up in front of people and sing and do whatever, just you know what I mean. But it's like when it comes to how I feel internally, that's where all the storm is. It's all in my head, and I'm like, I'm super self conscious and super anxiety ridden. I don't, it's only the last couple of years where since we've been doing the podcast and I've gotten more comfortable about going back out by myself again. And now I can go back. I can go out by myself now and have no problems, and it's okay. But I'm still in my mind. I'm still dealing with that anxiety. People are staring at me. What, don't I look like an asshole by myself? And it's just all these crazy things that go on in your mind, man.
Well, as an artist, man, and sometimes I worry about people when they first get sober and they want to like be out there doing things right away. It's challenging, So my view on it is, being an artist, you make yourself vulnerable. You put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
You got to be ready, man, for and I know, you get these guys, I don't care. Can you curse on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You say whatever the fuck you want.
People think, you know what I mean? Sure, you can say that and be a tough guy, but I'm sure there's moments where you do care about what people think, and you're still going to feel that there has to be some percentage, man. Nobody's like 100 on that, I don't think, and
no, me neither.
Yeah. So putting yourself out there, man, I think I've become better just because I'm a better person than I was before. You know what I mean?
Is it tough for you to be, because I think it's the environment too, being in a band, playing out shows, most of the time you're in clubs that serve alcohol. Most of the time you're surrounded by people that are engaging in drinking alcohol. So is that part of it? Like the environment that you're into, is that?
It could be. I never was a social kind of like drinker or drug addict. I didn't hang out in clubs and do cocaine and it was glamorous. I was a very street person. I'm totally a different person than I was before, so yeah.
What do you think
when you ride down Central Avenue and you go around the corner on Robin, or you go in that area and you see that's how I was.
Okay.
It's not good. Yeah.
What do you think are some of the things that helped you get where you are today?
Being in recovery, I mean, working on I don't know, just doing some of the work that the program I'm in helped. And then also living life, man, jumping into life and making myself vulnerable, like I said,
So vulnerability, you're saying, is a superpower in a way.
It could be when you're ready for it.
You said when you were ready for it. Was there one incident that really brought you to recovery? Did you get a really big smack in the face to bring you to recovery, or was it just a succession of things that brought you to that? I think it was a succession
of things. I think I was feeling, well, I tell you, man, I was caught between a rock and a hard place, and I always say that I wanted to kill myself, really did. And I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. And I was not feeling good about myself at all. So I was in that crossroad. I chose giving it life another shot, and it's worked out.
I would say it has, my friend. I would say it has, because holy shit, you got yourself wrapped up in all kinds of stuff that you do, and
yeah, it keeps me. And like I said, man, I'm able to put myself out there. Judgment can come, let it come. Do I care? Yeah. Am I gonna let it control my life at this point? Probably not. Not everybody likes the bone art that I do.
Right.
Not everybody likes that stuff. Some of my friends do. Some of my friends don't like it. So it's like, I just did art on Lark with Kayla Green. She does like art with she puts teeth on jewelry and stuff like that, and
Okay.
bones and stuff. And so we're in art on Lark, and 80% of the people, look at us like we're out of our minds, and 20% come and buy things. So that's fine.
That's the 20% that matters.
Yeah.
Then you just got to make the next. You got to make it 21%. And
Yeah.
That's
I think
life,
it's
though,
actually.
I think,
I think it's actually kind of reflective of who you are and where you've been, because you've kind of picked yourself up from the depths and near death, and you're kind of what you're doing is you're kind of recreating these artifacts that still provide an energy source, and what you're doing is a remembrance thing. It's no different. I don't think what you're doing is any different than us keeping ashes of our pets on our dressers like I have. I have a pet cemetery on my dresser, so I don't think there's any difference in that as you putting together bones and stuff.
You're actually like giving them like another shot at life in a sense.
Yeah. I just cleaned speaking of ashes of a pet, I just cleaned someone's like dog. Yeah.
Did they ask you to put their dog
They
back?
just want the bones.
Yeah.
That's
That's
and,
Wow.
Yeah.
wow. That's
Pretty
heavy
wild.
duty,
First time
man.
I've ever done anything like that. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's heavy duty, man.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun. And like I said, it keeps me busy. And it's something I could do by myself too, which I like. Like, I play in a band. I got, you mentioned Black Belt Jones, which there too, I'm able to use that as an outlet also. A lot of my lyrics are about like mental health and addiction.
Absolutely. You can check out their 4-song EP on Bandcamp under Black Belt Jones. Tim and I were fortunate enough to see Black Belt Jones recently with the Clay People. The Clay People releasing their brand new record. They were just playing here at Empire live, and great set, really awesome sound. If you're fans of like Queens of the Stone Age and Caius and bands like that, like you'll dig Black Belt Jones.
Thanks.
Oh, you got it, man. Absolutely. Loved it. It was great. Good set. Now I just got to get on Bandcamp because I'm not on Bandcamp. I got to get on Bandcamp.
Oh yeah. So what I do now is I work in a housing program for the homeless, in which I work with a lot of people who have serious mental illness and addiction, and it's very, very challenging. I'm able to connect with people pretty well, but man, it is still like a very challenging job. And
That's gotta be tough. Can I ask the difference between the two? Because you had mentioned before about working, and leaving that because maybe the restraints or whatever, but I feel like this is equally, if not more, as heavy.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's yeah.
Do you feel like you have less constraints on you on this one, or?
I could be more creative with this job. I could definitely be more creative. But our main goal is to house people. So our main goal is not to get people mental health services and get them off drugs. But that is an option for them. So that is something that I will help them with. Some people are getting services already.
And then some people
don't ever want to get services.
Or some people have services and they just let them go because that's what I find. That's what I'm finding now in my new career choice, that a lot of people, they're set up with services, but they don't really want the services necessarily, or they're not willing to do the work that goes into the services. They'd rather, and I get it. Like, I understand, like, people want autonomy, but there's a certain part where you kind of gotta say, well, if you're gonna do this, then you kind of gotta do this, right?
Eventually, yeah, I would think. I agree. Do you think that, Will, are some of the people that you see, is it more of are they like mandated to do it? It's not necessarily their choice, so they just kind of do it to appease other people?
Well,
For me, for where I'm coming from, our stuff isn't necessarily mandated as much as certain aspects of it are for certain individuals, but individuals that are outside of that are going back into community. It's not mandated, and you set them up with what we call a health home service, which is like this whole management system that creates this thing where you get all your treatment, you get your you get your living arrangements and stuff, but there's certain aspects of those treatment programs that you have to fulfill. And then what happens is people close cases and people wind up back through the cycle again.
Yeah, the system is not great.
No, it's not. It's a very challenging, and like I will second what you've said about it's changing. It is changing, but I it's nothing is ever going to change as fast enough as we need it to.
Right.
And it's too bad because there'll be a lot of collateral. There's a lot of collateral damage because of that.
Yeah. I find that most of the people that are homeless are suffering from mental health really, really bad. They have serious mental illness
Now,
that's not being addressed properly, or there's lack of services, and they just cannot function, amongst society in a way that they can go get a job, get an apartment, maintain it. It's challenging,
in in your in your work, do you see a lot of individuals that are, yes, they have mental illness, but do you notice that there's a lot of people that have cognitive like delays and could actually be on like the OPWDD spectrum as much as it is a mental illness or a chemical addiction?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I have noticed that there's a lot of individuals out there who have cognitive delays that really should probably be in like a system for developmentally disabled people, as opposed to being in a mental health system, which I believe does probably cause even more problems too, because of the way treatment is done and
Mm.
and the medicines that people use and the things that they're given during the course of the day. And it's hard to set somebody up for success out in the community when you can go to the nurse's station and get your, PRN whenever you need it, and you don't necessarily have that outside. And I don't necessarily know if we set people up for success as much as we just set them up to manage them to
Mm.
be part of it. I don't know. It's just something that I'm seeing myself.
Yeah, and like I said before, man, there's a lot to it. There's no straight line. It's not black and white. It's really there's a lot of different layers, and with addiction too. you
Oh,
know.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we used to think just do this and that's it. No, it's not like that.
No,
It's a lot of different things, you know.
but the thing about it is, and this Tim and I talk about this quite a bit, is that I say that you have to have a willingness to come to recovery of any sort. You have to be willing to admit, first of all, that you have a problem. And I think so many of us have a hard time with that because we have these self developed ideas of what we were supposed to be, and then we hear all the things that we've heard throughout life. You should be this, you should be that, or you don't need that, that you're just this or whatever. And the judgment is very difficult to get over.
Mm, yeah. We're usually the last people to know the
Right.
individual that's suffering, right?
Right.
The same thing with mental health, because I've met so many people that deny that they have a mental health problem when it's obvious that they do by their behavior. There is something that needs to be addressed,
Mm-hmm.
but they deny it and they don't want help. So it puts them in these situations where they keep repeating these same, like this vicious cycle that they're on without drug use. Without drug use. just mental health.
Mike, do you have a thought on why they don't acknowledge it, or do you think they may just not understand it fully, or do you
I
think there's
don't know. I
something?
mean, most of the time, clients won't talk to you about it if they're denying it. So I could come up with ideas. I mean, I've had clients actually that have been in a certain type of system, mental health system, are out of it now and refuse to admit they have a mental health problem. So I'm guessing that they had a bad experience with the providers.
So maybe even
Coach.
the stigma that's behind it.
There's a stigma behind it. That's another one, which, yeah, it's a heavy stigma too.
For sure.
You know? Yeah, that's a very heavy stigma. Yeah, it's a good point. You know, yeah, I mean, people have bad experiences and don't want to return to certain places to get help.
It can be just as traumatizing to people as it is to, it's almost, I think a lot of people would rather just have their status quo of what they feel good and then not go through that again. Is there a way to improve that though? What do you have any opinions on how do we improve it? Is it having more people like us in the field that care? Or is that not going to be enough because at some point you get burned out and then you're just like, well, it just keeps repeating over and over again.
I don't know. I think like a program that I work with helps. I think what you're doing helps. I think this podcast helps. I think it's going to take a lot of different people to get involved and also to look at how to make it, I guess, user friendly.
Yeah.
It's almost like
right.
This computer program just doesn't work, so we have to get a new one. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's kind of like, yeah, it's a tough question, man. I was thinking about how could we make the shelter system better, because a lot of people will not stay in a shelter.
They'd rather stay on the street.
Yeah. And I had my bout with homelessness too. I mean, and I'd rather have stayed in the street.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Why would I? Yeah. The shelter
What
was like worse, especially back then. I mean,
can I ask why? I just don't. I'm ignorant to that. I don't know why it would be worse.
there's not enough accountability amongst people who are there for other reasons and putting people in danger. It's almost like being in a bad jail sometimes for some people. People get things stolen, they get robbed. There's been sexual abuse, a little bit of everything, I'm sure.
I got it. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah, I remember when I first came to Albany, I stayed at a shelter. I won't mention the name. And they threw us out at 7 a.m, which I don't know how that helps anyone. There wasn't no services, nothing offered.
There was no programming at all?
Right. And this was 1999.
Okay. I mean,
things are a little different now.
Things are different now.
Things are different now. They would give you 2 tokens and that was it, and see you later, So you could take the bus or whatever. But just throwing somebody in the street at 7 a.m. with no destination is not healthy.
No, it's not. That's not
Right.
not even, that's not a plan. There's
Right.
no plan there whatsoever.
It's just a place to rest your head and do what you're going to do and then come back and go to sleep. So.
Obviously, we can come up with a better system than that. But do you think that those places are also necessary too, just so people do have some place to go if they need to?
Yeah, I mean, people are using the shelter system in a positive way. I think there just needs to be more money to help people. Like, if we could just make it safer for people, I think it would be better.
Yeah, well, we've got humans walking around. I don't think anybody's safe, unfortunately. And that's not to be, I'm not trying to be flippant by saying that. I'm dead serious. I don't know, man. again, like I equate it to what I've heard over the years is that, we're the only society where the rich have convinced the middle class that the poor are the problem, and we just want to throw everybody in the, that doesn't, just because of our judgmental, incapacities. Dude, thank you so much for doing this, man. This has been an awesome conversation. Timmy, you got anything else for Mike before we get to the lightning round?
Nothing. No, nothing. Just thanks for being here and thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
If there's anything else you want to just kind of put out there quick before we start the lightning round, feel free. But otherwise, I've got nothing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just thanks for, I mean, this is a good thing you guys are doing. Definitely had a good conversation, good way to start the day, So,
Start the day on a positive, man.
yeah.
Cheers to you.
Yeah.
There's no coffee in here. I think I finished it all up.
I have my second cup going.
All right, Timmy.
So, Mike, do you have a favorite or a least favorite word?
Hate.
Do you have a favorite?
Forgiveness.
That's a good one. Forgiveness is always a good one. Wow. I don't think anybody said forgiveness yet either.
No, I think that's a first.
Well, I think one of the things we have to learn how to do is forgive ourselves, especially people that have addiction and mental health, because our addiction and mental health affect other people, and it also affects us. So we also got to learn how to forgive. We all always want to be forgived, but we have to learn how to forgive others too.
Very good. So my second question is, what is something that you've learned about yourself by piecing skeletons together? I'm fascinated by this because as we've had our conversation this morning, it's really dawned on me that you've kind of taken this weird thing that some people would think is weird, and you've created this really cool thing of just carrying on the spirit of the animal by piecing it back together. So I wanted to know if there was something that you've learned about yourself that you didn't know before you started doing all that.
I'm not sure if I could really connect anything directly. I guess just giving myself a chance. I think we got to give ourselves a break and give ourselves a chance to try to do something different, find what's going to work.
Absolutely, man. That's very cool. That's very cool. I didn't mean to stump you this
all right.
early hour.
No, it's fine.
It's
probably better when it's I don't gotta think so much.
I do. I just find it fascinating because it like, as I was looking at all your Facebook posts for all the projects that you're doing with it, I was like, wow, it's pretty incredible that you're connecting life and death in that way. It's really cool and esoteric and neat. So I didn't know if there's been a deeper meaning to it or not.
Excellent. So the last question, if there was something that you could do or that you would like to see done for mental health as a whole without any kind of restraint, what would it be?
I think I would like to see an improvement in the shelter system, where the shelter system is safe for people to go to. Because a lot of our people that have serious mental health are in the street and refusing to stay in the shelter because they don't feel safe. If we could make the shelter system safer and more user-friendly, I think we could open the door to help more people with mental health.
Is it a lack of resources across the board? Is it a lack of certain resources? Is it a lack of volunteers?
Is because they wouldn't have Code Blue if it wasn't, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, that's
Code Blue houses more people during the winter. There's a lot of people that are not getting housed. I think they're doing their best to house people that come forward for services, but I think it's more of the people that don't want to come forward for services because of their experience with the shelter system. So if we made the shelter system better, more hands-on, more people working, I'm assuming that when when guys are sleeping in like a dorm, they probably have like 1 or 2 people working the floor at night. Maybe they need more, you know. Maybe there needs to be more money put into it, more jobs, more hands-on, more peers, people that have been through it. And there is a glimpse of that. I mean, it's slowly happening where there are peers, and there's a couple of shelters that are doing some really good stuff in Albany.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's certainly needed. It's certainly necessary, and we have to
more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Mike, thanks so much, man. Thank you so much for taking your morning and being here with us, man. It's
man. Thank you.
Man.
Thanks, Mike, for everything.
Thanks for what you do, for the community, and just thanks for sharing your story with us today.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
That was Mike Langone from Upstate Punk Rock Flea Market, Black Belt Jones. Odds, sweet things, and dead ends. That's right. Episode 178 has come to an end. Thank you so much for listening. I wanted to take you out with a Black Belt Jones song, which I'm going to share its entirety. It's called Save You Today. Don't forget, please rate, review, subscribe, follow, friend, do all the things. Share our episodes. Let us know you're listening out there. This was episode 178. Can't wait for the rest of the year and into 2023. TPP and I are working hard to try to get new guests and expand things. And don't forget, Tim's book should be dropping any day now, and as soon as we have links, you'll be able to find them on the Above Ground podcast pages everywhere, so please check every day. And again, thank you so much for listening, supporting, and buying us coffees. Thanks to everyone who came out on Saturday night to the Fuse Box to share in local live music. We appreciate it very much, man. So until next week, get well, be safe, and stay above. Here is Black Belt Jones.
with